Hi, my name is Tjibbe Bosman. I'm at the Foundation for Auditing Research, and with me today is Anna Gold, professor at the VU. And we're going to talk today about her 2018 project about audit committees.
Thank
Anna,
you.
where's the project about?
So this project, which I'm doing with Brazel, Justin Leiby and Tammie Schaefer, is about potential support that can be given to audit teams from audit committees. So we depart from this problem that, which is often mentioned by regulators, standard setters, and also the firms themselves, that there's this continuous problem of maybe there's a lack of professional skepticism among auditors. So there's quite a lot of research. Actually, we have a masterclass today on professional skepticism that looks at, well, what can we do to kind of boost auditors' professional skepticism? Mm-hmm. So we know already quite some things. What can be done at the team level, what can be done at the firm level. What we are interested in is whether the audit committee plays a role in this or potentially could play a role in this. So assuming that you have a client with a very active and very supportive audit committee, would that stimulate auditors, and then now I'm talking about relatively lower ranked, so senior auditors, whether they would be more motivated to exhibit more professional skepticism if they know that they have a supportive audit committee at the client. Okay. And we do this by, first we did an exploratory survey study, which I can say a little more about in a moment, where we asked about kind of the state of the art. So at the moment, different levels or ranks of auditors or partners, managers and seniors, how do they experience this support or absence of the support of the audit committee at the moment? But also asking them what are some best practices, would it help you if the audit committee were more active and supportive and kind of protecting you against other pressures from the client to ask more challenging questions, etc. And then in the next step, and that's what we're still working on now, we're doing an experiment where we actually manipulate some factors related to this audit committee support to see, and then we give auditors a task where we can measure how professionally skeptical are they in that task to see if it has an effect.
Okay. What are one of the best practices where other practitioners can learn from that you?
So this is quite interesting, and we're still at the beginning stage of analyzing the survey data. So we surveyed auditors through the FAR here in the Netherlands, but we also got data from the US through the CAQ. So we have not a huge sample, but we have somewhat of a comparative sample, and we can make some comparisons between US and Netherlands. My first impression is that maybe US auditors have a little more exposure to audit committees. So I think actually from that data we can learn a lot here in the Netherlands. So some of the things that they come up with and that they've partly also experienced is an audit committee that is actually present, is approachable, also outside the formal meeting. So what we see is most of the time they can't have contact with only the highest level of the team, like the partner director, sometimes senior manager, but below that you don't really see that the audit committee has contact with the audit team. But one of the best practices would be to improve that interaction, so also extend that beyond only the highest level of the team, and for the audit committee to be accessible if any questions arise. So that's one. Another best practice would be for an audit committee that actually asks challenging questions and has specific requests. So a lot of the auditors in our survey indicate that when they get these more specific requests and more challenging questions, that also boosts their own professional skepticism. So these are some of the ideas that we see, and in terms of really practical implications, of course, in the end it boils down to how good an audit committee does the client have. But of course, if you audit a client that has an audit committee, I would think you could also talk to the audit committee up front in the planning phase and make some agreements on, well, what do we expect from you? So a little bit of expectation management and basically challenge them to be more active in the course of the audit. I don't know if that's practically feasible, but that's something that might improve the level of presence and support that an audit committee might give.
So Anna, do you see a lot of variation how audit committees perform and their role in the audit?
Yeah, we see a lot of variation there. Part of that is driven by the fact that, as I mentioned already, especially at the lower ranked levels like seniors, they have no personal experience overall with the audit committee. But even at the higher ranks, we see quite some variance. So some partners, directors, senior managers that give us very concrete hands-on examples of interactions with the audit committee that they've experienced themselves, so beyond just best practices that they would wish that would exist. But we also see, unfortunately, quite a few respondents that indicate, well, we're not really used to very active audit committees. So that in their experience, they're kind of distant. It's kind of limited to a small number of very formal meetings where there's not a lot of room for actually triggering this professional skepticism that we're hoping that the audit committee could have a stronger role in.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.